This one is titled The Tangible Shadow. Brad Ryan was the manager of a restaurant franchise. He was given the position by his uncle Milford and prided himself on the way he controlled his employees by any means, anything to maximize profits. This particular morning was a perfect example. He wrote up 2 employees for taking 16-minute breaks and then docked a waitress for arriving late when her car broke down. In the afternoon, he caught the cook speaking Spanish to the kitchen help and gave him a lecture in how lucky he was to be in this country and let him know that if he wanted to continue working there, he would speak in English only. Moments after closing, a party of 10 arrived, knocking on the locked door. Brad knew the remaining staff couldn't afford to lose their jobs, so he had them seat and serve the guests.
Be sure to clean them again afterwards,
he shouted at his scurrying employees as he left through the back door.
I want this place in tip-top shape when I get in tomorrow.
He walked to his reserved parking spot and got in his BMW convertible. He smiled as the engine purred and the top folded back. These were the rewards of running such a tight ship, he told himself. After a 20-minute drive through the hills, he arrived at his mansion, a modern structure glimmering in the evening darkness. As he entered, the home system raised the lights. He lit the fireplace and put on a selection of classical piano. He poured himself a glass of wine and then went to his favourite chair in his bedroom. His book lay open across the chair's arm. It was titled The Tangible Shadow. He remembered purchasing the book from a weird rarity bookshop, a collector's item that had cost him quite a bit, but money was no object to Brad. The story itself was mesmerizing. He felt he couldn't relate to the main character, an unnamed manager who abused everyone around him, but he was deeply intrigued by the descriptions of a shadowy demon who could slip through the smallest crevice and dismember its victims with razor-sharp claws and fangs. The main character had been researching a way to stop it, but unbeknown to him, the demon had been stalking and killing his family members, and had finally reached his house. Brad sipped his wine, settling into his chair, and began reading the final chapter. The man sat in his sleeping chambers, studying the ancient book, looking for the secret to defeat the demon. It was somewhere in these pages, he knew it. He felt a chill and looked up, peering through the doorway. The fire in the main room had gone out, but his task was too urgent to leave for relighting the logs. At that moment, Brad noticed the fireplace fading out, but he was startled as he heard a low rattle. It was just the wooden floor creaking, he thought to himself. He took another sip of wine to settle his nerves and continued reading. The demon slipped a long, wicked-looking claw under the window frame, its finger elongated, sliding unsuspectedly. Soon the rest of its hand, then arm and whole body followed through the narrow gap. It poured itself along the shadows inside the room, a malevolent shape seeping into a darkened corner of the chamber. At that moment Brad got up to relight the fireplace. As he felt a draft in the house had grown stronger, he then sat down and continued reading. He hunched closer, straining to read the dim words on the page. The man was so engrossed in his study, he did not notice the rippling shape that spread towards his chair, solidifying behind him, its hideous shape rising and stretching towards his neck. Brad's chair creaked. He shifted nervously, his wine forgotten. He began the final paragraph. A shadow fell across the man's book. He glanced upwards just as the creature's vicious claws descended against his throat. No scream came, only a gurgle. Brad closed the book with trembling hands. It was then that Brad saw the jagged shadow creeping across the cover of the book, but it was too late. The creature's claws ripped him from limb to limb, leaving behind only his carcass. As the blood-drenched book lay on the floor, the back cover displayed the words, "The Tangible Shadow, the biography of Brad Ryan."